everybody. Welcome into Baseball and Coffee today. It is 10 a.m. on Tuesday, October 21st. Game 7 was last night. That's mostly what we're going to think about tonight. Crazy game. I was just looking at the research packet that I'm going to show you guys in a little bit, obviously. But that George Springer home run, in terms of something crazy like win probability added, where is that? There's a really good stat here. Yeah. Championship win probability added in ALCS history since 1969. And I have it. I'll just go to it so you can see it right away. George Springer's go-ahead home run versus Mariners plus 19.73%. That's number one since 1969. So that's pretty impressive right there. Cecil Cooper, go-ahead single versus the Angels. Chris Chambliss, walk-off home run versus Royals. That's famous mainly because, to me at least, obviously I'm not alive for that Chris Chambliss home run, but watching the tape, 1976 ALCS, the old Yankee Stadium crowd mobs the field, like completely takes over the entire field, and so it's really something else. What's going on with the chat? Got anything going on in the chat? Can you guys see me at all? All right. Anyway, because it says I have 3 on the chat rate, yet I'm not seeing it, which is a little odd. Oh, that's strange. I'll fix that in a second, I'm sure. Anyway, wanted to share that. Hope you guys enjoyed that game yesterday. That was a heck of a ball game. I was on a plane for most of it, but I was watching it, albeit with about a 2-minute delay. So I'm texting people through the plane Wi-Fi, and it took me about an inning to realize that they were 3 minutes ahead of me. So that was disappointing. Because sometimes I was like, oh, wait, did they just say that this was going to happen? And then it happens. That's like maybe one of the worst things as a sports fan. All right, we have 7 people in the chat, so I got to fix this chat. Let's see here. We refresh the chat. All right, I'm starting to see him, although I'm going to have to fix my Chat Ninja for a second. Hold on. Oh, wait. Some of them are coming through now. All right, great. Thank you. All right, good. I can see you guys. Thank you. Okay, so a couple things I wanted to see. A couple things that I wanted to see last night before we even talk about anything. Let's just go to the video real quick. There's a couple of big moments, obviously, in this game that loom large, none bigger than the George Springer at bat where they go to Bizzardo in the big moment. So I really just want to watch how that inning unfolds, and then we'll backtrack a little bit. We'll talk about a few other things. So looking at the 7th inning, it starts with Wu on the mound. And, of course, it starts with a leadoff walk. First pitch sinker in. And I thought Wu looked really good in this game. His fastball was playing different. Now, when I watched back all the at-bats last night for the Vlad Jr. ALCS MVP at-bat watching video that I did last night, I noted that, look, they were pretty much pitching the same style over and over and over again, this group of Mariners pitchers. A lot of sinkers, occasional four-seamers, but tons of sinkers. And he did the same thing, four-seamers and sinkers, except his are more elite. Like, his are just better. He upshoots. It's pretty disgusting. And the sinker's pretty good. That being said, this was a big push. They pushed him out for a 3rd inning. He had been hurt. He had just pitched recently 2 innings. So he doesn't have that much rest. Comes out here. Obviously, all the chips are down here. He probably wanted this inning. But I do think, it shows up a little bit with that first pitch walk. And then this is a little bit of good aim by Kiner Falefa as he hits this ground ball up the middle. After taking a ball right down the middle, that could have been a good pitch to bunt, seeming like they wanted to do the bunting in this spot for some reason. That's a great pitch. Wu should be all over him in this at-bat. Gets a 4-seam middle, sinker in, fouls it off the foot. And they try to go to the sweeper here, but he just doesn't execute it. Backs it up down the middle. So the command is what lets Wu down in this moment. Stuff's pretty good. All right, so you want to take him out. to me, this was obviously the time for Munoz. Munoz is their best pitcher. He hasn't really pitched a lot. He's the only guy not overexposed, and the whole season's on the line. Bazzardo, who I love, and I've been talking about how he's been a godsend for this team, he's been completely overexposed, overworked. They pitched him in 2 losing efforts, and now they're going to bring him in the biggest moment of the season to face George Springer, who, you know, say what you want about George Springer, but he's really good at not missing a pitch that he's committed and he thinks is coming, right? So if there's anything to take away from a little bit of the cheating scandal back in the day, like some of the lingering effects of that, some of those players who became really good at fully committing to knowing that a pitch was coming and not missing it, that plays in a little bit when you sit on a pitch too. So I think he was all over. I think he was all over the sinker the whole time against Bazzardo, and rightfully so. That's about all he was throwing. But yeah, I think this comment right here is the comment. You figure out the ninth if Munoz can't get through the ninth, but you got to go to Munoz. You empty the tank with your best pitcher right there, and I thought that was a fatal error by Mr. Dan Wilson. So they do the bunt. It's a nice bunt. You know, in real time, I was wondering how this was going to play. We've had some very fun bunt and bunt defense in these playoffs, right? So obviously they're double pinched in. They don't do the wheel play, so they don't sell out for the lead run. They go ahead and take the free out. If they were doing the wheel play here, Crawford over here would be beelining it this way, and he'd be crashing extra hard, Suarez. But that's not the case. He kind of reads it. Suarez just watches and reads. Then he retreats to third. But it's also a really good base running read. I'm assuming this is Barger. Yes, it's got to be Barger. Barger gets a really good secondary lead here, and his momentum carries him right into running. So there's really no shot at the play at third. And that is pretty big, because now a single ties the game. So they decide to go to Bazzardo here, as we all know. And I just want to check a few things as we start this at bat. Where's the defense playing? Defense is rightfully playing back, and they're expecting him to pull a ball on the ground if he hits it, right? This is the alignment. They're completely giving up over here. This whole area is wide open, and they're totally content to getting a ground ball. But this also tells me another thing. They want to throw sinkers into him. If they were going to pitch him away, and that was the plan, I don't know if they have the second baseman pinched this far up the middle. But anyway, they don't, and it's obvious, so obvious, if you've been watching the baseball games and you've been watching Bazzardo pitch, that he was going to just go with sinkers here. This situation was begging for a chase slider to try to get George to be a little aggressive. Ultimately, they stay stubborn, they stay with the sinker, and when they make the mistake, they pay the price. There's that first one. That's kind of what he wants to happen. He wants this ball to ride in really hard. Because he's a ground ball pitcher. He's not really a strikeout pitcher. He's looking to get it on the hands and get a ground ball here. They also have a lefty, Lucas, on deck. So even though it's not Vlad or anything, Vlad is lurking in the hole, I believe, in this spot, as well as the fact that you probably don't like Bazzardo versus lefties as much as you like him versus righties on paper. But anyway, first pitch sinker is way in. And that just gives George a license to say, you know what, I think he's going to try that again. I'm going to go ahead and bail the front foot a little bit and be on time. And when he makes the mistake, I'm not going to miss it. And that's what happens here. Just a predictable pitch. Catches way too much of the plate. And literally, like, this was just a bad pitch call. You're walking into it. You know how perfect you have to be here to make this pitch work? Like, you've got to get in off the plate. Up in here. I just don't love it. He's got obviously huge pull side pop. He's seen a ton of sinkers. I'm pretty sure these guys have faced each other, so we're going to go hunt for those matchups in a second and see how they kind of led to this moment or didn't. But this sinker just doesn't get there. You know, and Bazzardo, you know, I don't necessarily fault him. His sinkers carried him the whole way this year. He's calling he's throwing what they're calling for the most part, I'm sure. He's thrown a crap load of games. pitched in almost every game this series. So I think he's like well over 80 games now on the year. So it's impressive. His workload, the velocity was good. It's not an excuse, but gives up that homer. And for everybody who's saying don't pitch to Springer, you know, Lucas isn't a good matchup for Bizzardo. And with the 3-batter minimum rule, you know, he has to face him. And he ends up getting up a hit anyway on 1-2. Has nothing really to put lefties away unless he gets the slider super back foot. Like the only way Bizzardo's punching out lefties is getting a slider back here or hitting the comeback on the sinker up here to this spot. Like that's it. Occasional maybe arm side flyer, you get the chase, but that's it. So he doesn't really have a lot of options, bases loaded, if he pitches into that situation either. He needed to get Springer out there, and they screw up, you know, they mess up. I don't know exactly who made the pitch call, but that wasn't very smart, in my opinion. And I guess I do think you go to Munoz right away. Now, Munoz had a crazy inning himself, gave up 2 hits. And I was wondering how he was going to look. His velo had been down a little bit, but it was back yesterday. He was throwing hard as crap. Anyway, he got clipped. It was clear that the Blue Jays were hunting slider off him because the trend recently has been slider usage. But Clement's just a really good scrapper with 2 strikes. Hits it where it's pitched, and they were in freaking business. They were about to really extend the lead, and then this game just continued to be an absolute nail-biter after this play. And I'm curious how hard this ball was hit. 105.8. Man, it felt like 130 in the moment. I mean, you can't even track it with the camera. It's hit so hard. Man, just hit it into his glove, basically. And that kind of saved the Mariners bacon and gave them a shot to come back in the 9th, which obviously they don't do. The one at-bat, I mean, I thought the at-bats in the 9th off Hoffman were really bad. Personally, I don't understand this bunt attempt. First bunt attempt here. With the infield already kind of pinched. Like, what's he see here? Ernie's over here. He's right here. What's he see here that tells him he should bunt? But instead of getting a good swing off, you know, it's just strike 1. And then I thought, you know, ultimately, Jeff and that first batter, that's always going to be the most shaky batter. Are you going to be able to throw strikes to the first batter out of the bullpen? So he ends up punching him out with the fastball. But, you know, you'll see. It's not like the command is pin perfect here. Good pitch there. That's a good pitch to hit. And I think he really loses it on this split. Oh no, that's pretty good, pretty competitive too. But again, you got to get on base here. You got to get on base here. But I don't understand the bunt attempt. So anyway, thought this was a pretty bad at bat. I mean, he hasn't shown you he can throw anything but a heater over the plate yet. And then you're not on time for the heater, and you chase the heater up there when you need a walk. So I thought that was pretty putrid. Canzone ends up punching out on a fastball up as well. And Jeff doesn't really even have his velocity that he had earlier in the year, but he located 2 balls perfectly up and away here for those chases. And then you look at the Julio at bat. Talk about a guy with trying to do only one thing, which is hit a home run. Every single pitch is out of the strike zone here, and yet he strikes out. Slider up, slider up, and then this is a crazy chase right here. You got to be glued in on one pitch, one location. Comes up empty on a 2-0 slider. Chases another one way off the corner. I mean, it makes life easy on you when you don't have to throw strikes. So I was a little surprised. I mean, obviously J-Rod's got one thing on his mind, but I'd like to see him get on base there, steal second, or something like that, and you know, make Jeff make some tough pitches to the next batter, which is Cal Raleigh. But you know what? You got to give a lot of credit to these Blue Jays guys. They read the situations really well at the end of the game. They pitched really clean down the stretch. Huge props to Bassitt. Bassitt got the 8th inning. Bassitt drew the 8th inning in this game. You know how exciting that was for me to watch? I was so happy for him. He got in there in a huge moment, contributed, and his velocity was way up. I mean, he was throwing cheese. The sinker was sinking. Gets a first pitch out right away, which I loved. Big shout out to Bassitt. 95-3 on the sinker here. Blue Jays fans, when's the last time you guys saw Seabass throw 95? With nasty movement. And honestly, I love him out of the bullpen. He's such a dog, this guy. And then look at the sweeper. 73 off that 95. 22 mile an hour difference. It's not easy to hit. I get it. As a Jays fan, I was nervous. I agree because you never seen him in this spot. But, you know, Schneider, given his guy Bassitt, who I am sure because I know Seabass, has been knocking on that door all week long. I can give you outs. I can get you outs. I'm feeling good. You got to use me. You got to trust me. Don't overexpose these other guys. And then eventually he gets his chance in the biggest game, like, ever. And he comes through huge. And I love these last these last two pitches to Suarez. Challenges him with the sinker down, gets the swing action, and then hits him with the 72 mile an hour curveball. Oh, front door. Suarez hates it. But this pitch had a long time to break. And look at it, just hug the corner there, and a great catch by Kirk. Oh, this pitch is so sick. I freaking love this pitch. I want to watch Bassitt, because Bassitt looked like he drank 300 coffees before he came in this game. He was locked in and juiced. And he's one of the best competitors I've ever played with, straight up. This guy wants to compete in everything. And I think he's a big reason why Scherzer's there. And I'm sure the culture in the clubhouse definitely reflects a little bit of this guy's personality. He's a big personality in the clubhouse. And I'm just glad he did so good, man. This was such a huge moment. Suarez is pissed. But he comes out also, and this was actually the lane that, this is probably his last batter. Only going to give him the 3 batters. But he got it done here. Little pitch to contact sinker. Jimenez, who's been holding it down at short. That's a 10-pitch inning. And that's massive. I mean, I'm so happy for him. Thinking back to I was a teammate with him on the Mets 2022. Pitched in a couple big games for us. It did not go well versus the Braves and then versus the Padres in the postseason. Other than that, he wasn't really trusted that much with Oakland in those playoff runs when he was there. So he gets his moment yesterday on a huge stage in a 1-inning game. I bet you I would love to hear him talk about his outing yesterday and just how combination nervous, excited, focused he was, because that has to be, that's top tier. So anyway, I wanted to give a shout out to him. Also, Gosman, he had a crazy inning. Walk, double play, walk, ground out. So, you know, credit to the Jays. I like everything that Schneider did yesterday except for Varland. Varland pitched way too much, in my opinion, in this series. He just got overexposed. He ends up getting clipped by Cal Raleigh. You know, he was very consistent how he used Varland. It was like middle of the order versus every team. You know, he's the fireman. He's the first man out of the pen. And he's gotten clipped for a lot of home runs, to be honest. Like, he's got good stuff. But this is a horrible mistake over the middle on his, you know, very rarely used changeup. Not even really a big part of his game. He's trying to stay unexposed here. He's trying to say, I have more pitches. I have other ways to get you out. But sometimes you're a reliever for a reason, right? So, look, he's going to pitch a lot in the World Series as well. But you can see, like, if they want to beat the Dodgers, they really have to be smart with how much they let each Dodger hitter see their best relief pitchers. They just have to be smart about it, because if they're lucky enough to drag this series deep and you start to get into that Dodger bullpen, which is kind of the weakness of their team, and you do make this into a sloppy series, which is what you need, you're going to need some guys that aren't overexposed to go through Ohtani and Betts and Freddie in games 5, 6, and 7 when they've already seen a ton of your pitching and your strategy against them. Ultimately, with Seattle, that kind of undid them. So again, we're going to circle back to my guy Bizzardo. You know, Bizzardo pitched a lot in this series. And I want to go back through the games and just see who he faced. And I definitely want to key in on some of his Springer at-bats. I also just want to key in a little bit on how they pitched Springer in general and how it might have led to that home run. All right, so game number 1, he doesn't pitch in, but he pitches in game 2 here. 30 pitches. And he does face George Springer. Let's watch the whole at bat and just see. Let's just see if it's all sinkers.
Kind of just looking at his pitch count, you know, I thought he was throwing the ball fine.
Yep, sinker in. That pitch looks an awful lot like the pitch that he hit out. So basically giving you the foreshadowing with the very first pitch he throws him. Then they go backdoor sinker, which was a great pitch, doesn't get the call. Now, this is something that they could have done a little bit more of yesterday, I thought, in general versus the righties. They pounded in because Vlad had kind of proven that he can go the other way with it. And so did George, actually, a little bit as well. But they got a little predictable only calling sinker in late in this game. They never kept them honest away. Even with a four-seam away, might have been effective. So there's a sinker away right there to George. That's a nice pitch. And then the slider's going to get him out. So that's really good pitching there. Starts him in to keep him honest. And then away. Really good job there. So that's the first time they faced each other. Let's see what else we got. Bassitt appears in this game. Let's see who he faces. Does not face George Springer in this game. Does face Vlad and got clipped for the home run. This was on that backdoor sinker. So on this at bat, he went sinker, and got clipped. And I have to imagine that Guerrero and Springer are able to, in many cases, kind of exchange notes on the pitchers because they're going to get pitched similarly a lot. They're going to end up with a lot of the similar matchups. So I'm sure there was a lot of talk about being on time for Bassitt's splitter and being ready for a mistake. Anyway, there's a home run there. He ends up pitching again. In game 6, 2 innings. And he does face Springer. Sinker. Now remember, he gets him out with a slider away first time. There's another sinker very similar to the one that he gives up the home run on the next night. So he's thrown 2 of them now. George has now seen 2 of these pitches. And you can kind of tell from his reaction here a little bit, I think, that he feels like he should have handled this pitch pretty well. I know he's thinking about his knee as well. But anyway, all right, and then another sinker. So sinker, both targets inside. And it does beat him. So Bassitt gets him out both times prior in the series, one with a slider away, one with a sinker in. The sinker was a big part of the setup of both at-bats. He did not start either one with sliders. So George is going up there in Game 7 with a very, very good inkling in his mind that he's going to get a sinker early in the at-bat, particularly considering how bad he looked on those ones right there. But again, he can hunt a pitch with the best of them, and he doesn't miss it. And, you know, just to watch it again. But also, you see how much Bassitt pitched. This was his 4th game of the series, and he went over an inning. He went 2 innings in 2 of those games. So, I mean, you're looking at, this is like frame number 6 or 7 for Bassitt in this series. So I got to go Munoz here. I think that's an obvious critique of the situation. Got to go Munoz here. Munoz had not seen these guys as much. As far as I know, let's see. Toronto and Seattle. So Munoz pitches in game 1. Who does he get? Doesn't get Springer. And then I think he only pitched one other time before game 7. Yeah, this one. And he doesn't get George Springer. So it's hard to defend it. It's hard to defend it. You know, I mentioned it yesterday. You know, like he says here, To me it's obvious stuff. But you know, I've just been through it. I've given up home runs like this. I've been caught getting predictable out there, and so I have a feeling that can happen. And as the series go longer and longer, I can't help but thinking that really it's like the offense's ability to adjust and to get better as the series goes on versus all the pitching that they see and all the strategies that are used against them is kind of the ultimate factor you need in a 7-gamer if you're going to win it. Of course, it's great if you have an ace and he can just go out there and win you a game or two on the mound all by himself. And maybe the Dodgers are looking at that in this next round. But at the same time, if you're going to take down a team 4 times in a 7-day stretch, it's probably going to get messy at some point. And the more that your hitters can learn quickly in the series of how they're getting attacked and what the antidote to that is, and they can be ahead of the pitching, they can kind of break the pitchers a little bit over time. A lot of pitchers are not able to shift, and they're not able to kind of anticipate the other team getting ahead of what they're doing. So it's a lot on the catcher. It's a lot of mental gymnastics back there trying to read situations and figure things out. At times, Cal Raleigh was on it. I thought Kirby and Cal Raleigh did a pretty good job early in that game. But ultimately, at the end of the game, they got caught in an overexposed situation, in a predictable situation, and a hitter capitalized. A really good hitter capitalized. So that's kind of the story, for me. Really great series. I feel so bad for the Mariners fans. 1 win away from their first ever World Series. A couple outs away, to be honest. What were they? 6 outs away? 5 outs away? 7 outs away? Something like that. They don't get it done, but huge for the Blue Jays. Amazing for them. I think this is going to be an amazing World Series. So let's go over to the notes and let's just see some of the thoughts, stuff that we're not. This is an interesting comment. Wilson Munoz now part of the Showalter Britton Jays lore. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I mean, they were trying to throw in heavy to him and Vlad. They ended up hitting Vlad as well in the series. The inside pitches, it's kind of what you go to when you're facing a truly great player and you're kind of out of ideas. So that's what they decided to do. All right, let's go back to the notes here. There's some thoughts. So let's at least see what other people are thinking. That can inform our discussion for, about another 40, 45 minutes or so would be my maximum amount of time. I have a meeting to go to after this. So Mariners lost Game 7 in a manner we've seen before, but the season on the line. Andres Munoz sat in the Mariners bullpen on Monday night in the decisive 7th inning, where Zach Britton sat in the Orioles bullpen in 2016. So you're on it. You're on it. You're literally on it. I just put this up, Randy, and now you're on it. And also, Craig Kimbrell sat in the Braves bullpen at Dodger Stadium back in the 2013 NLDS. That's an underrated one that a lot of people don't remember. Joe Davis on the Fox broadcast last night, following Isaiah IKF's single in the 7th inning. Quote, "Why not consider having Munoz ready right now with the top of the order coming? Get him up, get him ready. After Jimenez, it's the top of the order. Springer, Lucas Guerrero. That's the game. 6 outs from your closer doesn't have to be the last 6 outs. Not these days." So Joe saw it coming. I think a lot of us saw it coming. You're trying to count outs. How are they going to get there? At one point they had Spire up in the bullpen. Wu, they try to push him through that 3rd inning, probably knowing that they were a little bit short down there to get to the final inning tally. Honestly, they kind of paid the price for their mode of using Munoz a lot. They really, really only use Munoz a lot in 1 inning. Stints coming down the stretch into the postseason. Not a ton of multi-inning work, but to me, he's right. Joe Davis is 100% right. That was the game right there. Now, as a manager, you always have to remember, the basics. The other team's best weapons are coming up. You have to be prepared. You cannot get caught sleeping there. And I feel like that happened. Yeah, what are you saving him for? This is the moment that he's on the ball club for. You put your best pitcher in here. And that's it. You work it out later. Maybe you tack on a few more runs, but you cannot let the game get flipped right there. That's my honest opinion. All right. Entering Game 7, opposing hitters were 0 for 21 with 2 walks against Munoz in the postseason. Dating back to August, he has a 0.98 with a 105 opponent batting average. So, listen, the numbers are obviously in favor of putting him in too. He's your best pitcher. He's been your best pitcher all year. Here are Munoz's appearances in the ALCS with average leverage index. 1 is average, below 1 is low, and above 1 is high. So I'm very familiar with this. This is something that's important to relief pitchers. So first game, he comes into a high leverage situation, 1.22 leverage index. But then in Game 5, 0.16. So he's literally just getting work in. This game, that meant nothing on the leverage index. They were up 6-2. And then 0.73 in Game 7. They're like down in the game. So they literally don't get him in there in the moment that they needed him in there, which is just crazy. And then you look at Mariners' 13 pitchers on the ALCS roster with batters faced in series. He's second least. He only faced 10 batters this series, the same amount as Caleb Ferguson. At the end of the day, I get that they didn't feel like they had the right lane to put him in at times, but he could have pitched more than 10 batters. Like, you could have got him in there at least, at least cut into some of those Bizardo batters, right? I mean, at a minimum, keep both of your guys a little bit fresher. He wound up facing 10 batters, not great. He threw 33 pitches for the entire series. 10 days earlier in another winner-go-home, Bizardo faced 10 batters and threw 39 pitches. In the 15-inning victory over Detroit, Munoz threw 25 pitches in that contest to the 6 batters he faced, 1 1/3 scoreless. So he's done it. He's done it. He can definitely do it. The evidence mounts. The Blue Jays got more production from the supporting cast than the Mariners in the ALCS. That's very true. The bottom of the order was very good for the Blue Jays, and this is partly just their approach. They did a really, really good job at the bottom. Barger, Clement, Varsho, Jimenez, IKF all contributed in big ways in the series for Toronto. Blue Jays, 5 to 9 hitters. They hit .333 with 12 extra base hits and 20 RBIs and a .952 OPS. That's how you're going to win. I talked about total team offense. You have to get contributions from the bottom of the order. You can't be the rally killers down there. You got to get shit done. You got to get, ducks on the pond for the top of the order coming around. And it just makes every inning that much harder for the opponent. You cannot give them a chance to have an easy, low-stress inning. You just can't. And I love the way that Clement, is aggressive. Barger is one of those players where, in a way, his swing doesn't feel like a Blue Jay swing. But he puts the ball play a little better than you would think, given his approach. But he also has huge damage potential. Like, you cannot sleep when Addison Barger's in the box. You make a mistake, he's going to pummel that shit. Also, this is a good point about the contrasting between the two styles, too. Like, Seattle doesn't have offensive execution. They don't have anything else to their game, truly, except home runs. They have some speed on their team, and occasionally it will show up in small bursts, but for the most part, they're waiting around hitting home runs. Whereas the Blue Jays, it's all about putting the ball in play and making things happen, especially at the bottom of that order on the turf. Like, they know what they're doing, and it's annoying to face. And you see some of the rallies. I mean, the big rally is started with a walk to Barger and a go the other way hit with 2 strikes by Clement. That swing by Clement is super valuable right there. You don't need a ball in the gap there. You need another guy on base to get the pressure on and get the go-ahead run to the plate, and that's what ended up happening. After leading MLB with a .265 average during the regular season, the Jays batted .333 in the ALDS and .271 in the ALCS. They hit .323 last night in Game 7, striking only 6 times. In 7 games of the ALCS, Toronto struck out 40 times. The regular season's #1 contact team has gotten even harder to strike out as the postseason has rolled on. Look at these strikeout percentages. 17.8, which led the league in the regular season, 14.9 versus the Yankees, and 14.8 versus the Mariners. And those are 2 of the best strikeout staffs in the big leagues. No hassle for Hoffman. Jeff Hoffman, whose 7 blown saves in the regular season were tied for 4th in the majors. He's been nails in October. On Monday, he struck out the side to clinch the pennant, finding redemption for not only his so-so season, but also his postseason struggles with Philly the last 2 years. This postseason, he's faced 28 batters. He's allowed 3 hits, 2 of which came with a 4-run lead, and he has punched out 10 of his last 14 batters face. So really happy for this guy. This is one of my former teammates with the Rockies. Got traded over to us for Tulo. He was kind of like the chosen one in a lot of ways. You know, he looks the part, right? You see him, that big, lanky frame, really good velocity, really good breaking stuff. Looks like the guy. Like he's going to be your ace starter. Turns out maybe he's a little more suited for a bullpen role, but he's hitting the ground running really big time with that bullpen role the last few years. Had 2 consecutive career years with Philly, ends up getting paid by the Jays. Yes, it went a little rocky, but I love the fact that it's a full circle for him. He's on the mound, punching out Julio Rodriguez to send the Blue Jays to the World Series. Truly full circle. I think it's amazing. I'm super happy for him and his family. But, man, crazy. You would have never thought it a few years ago. And he did it. And he did it. And I also think it was interesting this series, too, because he didn't really have any pressure until, of course, the biggest pressure moment ever, 1-run lead, Game 7. So he does come out and he responds to it big time with the 3 punchies. But, you know, he kind of was on easy street for the first 6 games of the series, which almost never happens for a team's closer. So it was a very odd series, but yet he stepped up in the big moment and got it done. And I was super proud to watch that. All right, rest versus rust scenario leading into the World Series. So this is like, we're going to do a lot of World Series previewing. The next, you had school meetings. I'm sorry I missed your call. Yeah, I tried to call you earlier, but I'm glad you're good. I love you. All right. Yeah, there was a couple of these. You know, the most famous one in my mind, because is this one. Red Sox sweep Rockies. So the Rockies went on that magical burner in 2007. My Colorado Rockies, 2007, massive burner, winning like 20 of 21, including game 163 to get the job done in that crazy game versus the Padres, where I'm still not sure if Matt Holliday touched home or not. Then they go on to just sweep the crap out of everybody in the postseason. Philly, see you later. Diamondbacks, 4-game sweep in the NLCS. And then they sat around for a really long time waiting for the Red Sox, who were in a 7-game series themselves versus Cleveland. They're actually down in that series 3-1, come back, win it 4-3, and they ended up parlaying that momentum into a World Series sweep of the Rockies. Everybody you talk to with the Rockies that was around during that era really feels like their mojo was lost during that layover. Colorado starters, Jeff Francis, Ubaldo Jimenez, Josh Fogg, the Dragon Slayer, and Franklin Morales, who was a disgusting lefty when he was young, combined to post a 1.66 ERA in that NLCS sweep of Arizona. They posted an 8.83 ERA while getting swept in the World Series against Boston. Red Sox starters Josh Beckett, Kurt Schilling, Daisuke Matsuzaka, and John Lester. What a rotation. Sneaky, one of the better teams in recent memory. Went 4-0 with a 1.54 ERA to help the Red Sox win the title as Mike Lowell won World Series MVP. And that Red Sox team was really good. And after they got through that really good Cleveland team, that was the CC Sabathia team. I think that was a Cliff Lee team. Fausto Carmona, who I think changed his name at some point. So that was one that I think really stood out because the Rockies were a team of momentum in that situation. They were a team that felt like they had this unstoppable freight train momentum. But yes, that time the rust did seem to form, and the Red Sox were in great form, and they got smoked. These are some other examples. Giants end up sweeping the Tigers 4-0. Same scenario. Tigers had swept the Yankees, and the Giants had been a 7-gamer, so that played out, benefiting the 7-game team there. Let's see what happens here. 2006 World Series, Cardinals beat Tigers 4-1. Tigers had swept, and Cardinals also had won in 7 games. That was an insane 2006 NLCS. Don't remind Met fans. 1988 World Series, Dodgers beat A's. Same scenario again. A's sweep the Red Sox. Dodgers beat the Mets in 7. So that's another example where the team who went to the 7-game series in the CS ended up coming out on top versus the sweeping team in the other CS. So take it for what it's worth. It's a grain of salt. It's only a statistic until it gets proved wrong. So I really don't care about it. I do think the Dodgers are a much stronger team relative to the league than maybe some of these other teams were in that moment. So this is going to be a challenge for the Blue Jays for sure. But they did just play, and they're kind of in fuck it mode now, right? Like they've been through it all. They've survived, the Yankees series, They survived this series where they were down 2-0, losing the first 2 at home. They go to Seattle. They get it done. They come home needing to win 2 in a row. They win it. Everybody contributed on this roster. They're gelling. You know their vibes are out of control right now, and this is that team right now. Them and the Dodgers are just 2 freaking vibes freight trains heading right at each other with a lot of talent on both rosters. Obviously, the Dodgers is a bit more high end on the high end, but overall, 2 really good rosters. So I'm pumped for this World Series. All right, what else we got here? This is an old Peter Gammons. Following Game 6 of the 75 World Series. That's probably great, and I'll read that later. I'm not sure that's apt for the stream. Let me just get here in the chat for a second. I think we forget how much more talented the 07 Red Sox were than the Rockies, even though the Rockies had that magical run. Yes, I mean, the Rockies had a miracle run. I've always tried to remind everybody of that. But I'm saying it was still special. It was still a miracle. It was a mile-high miracle. But the Red Sox were a freaking juggernaut. Papelbon was closing. Pedroia, Big Papi. I mean, they were stupid. They were nasty. I think Jacoby, right? Jacoby was really good at that point. So, a lot of stuff. All right, what else we got here? Every Jay talks about after games how great the team facilities are and how the players and families hang out in the park and are best friends. It does seem that way. I know a lot of these guys. Like, you know, I know Schurz, I know Bass, I know Hoffman, I know Springer. And yeah, it does seem like they have a really good culture going on up there with the families and all that, and everybody's happy and having a good time. It's a little bit of a chicken or egg thing, but this is the most fun time to be a part of a baseball team. You're on a magical ride. You've made it all the way to your destination, the World Series. And, you know, you don't know what's going to happen, but it's been an unbelievable life experience no matter what. I mean, I can't imagine the nerves in the family section late in that game when they're trailing. Like, imagine what George Springer's wife was feeling when he was up in that spot, or what Hoffman's wife was feeling while he was pitching in that spot. Like, it's intense. It's actually more intense, I think, for the families in a lot of ways because they can't have no control over it. The players are just busy. You're playing. Like, and yeah, you feel it, but man, for everybody that it means so much for, it's a lot. It's a lot. All right, what else we got here? I didn't mean to click on that. Sorry. How elite is the Dodgers pitching staff compared to the Mariners? Can the Jays execute in the same way? So this is going to be the big question. You got to break the Dodger pitching staff. I guess we can talk about it a little bit. Just initial thoughts on this. I'm going to go ahead and put it. This is an early poll. I'm going to put in the chat. Just early thoughts. Early prediction for World Series. Do we have the Jays or do we have the Dodgers? I mean, I'm expecting a lot of Dodgers votes here, but also I think the Jays have a puncher's chance in this one, of course. But here's the thing: if you think about the matchup the Dodgers just had, which was versus Milwaukee. Milwaukee's the other contact team that made it into the playoffs. Hold on, I gotta give a quick talk to my guy here. Good luck today, Anthony. We'll definitely be thinking about you, man. And I will be streaming throughout the week. Yes, baseball and coffee almost every day. So I'll be around. Good luck to you, my friend. Anyway, we're talking a little bit about the Dodgers pitching versus the Jays lineup potentially, right? So the Brewers were considered to be that contact team that could maybe disrupt some of these Dodger pitchers. Blake Snell, on paper, or at least the way that he's thought of, you would think a contact-oriented team could get to him, but he's on a Jedi-level run right now. It's a different lineup with the Jays, and I think they're more willing to use the whole field, and that's going to be the key. Righties taking hits to right field, and lefties finding a way not to chase. But Blake Snell has a changeup right now that is a crazy equalizer, and him and Will Smith are going to do a great job reading the situation versus Toronto. So Milwaukee tried to come out and be super aggressive versus both Snell and Yamamoto. But it didn't work either time. Both of those Dodger pitchers adjusted. So that's going to be the question. What's the level of overall aggression? Will the Jays try to sit back a little bit in game 1 of this series and make Blake throw strikes and kind of lull him into lure him into the strike zone with some dangerous pitches and then attack second time, third time through the order? I don't know. Vlad did a good job of doing that early in the series after I watched all his at-bats. He was pretty passive on fastballs early in the series, got engaged on them later. But if you want to beat the Dodgers, it would be nice to get one of the first 2 games versus Snell and Yamamoto and kind of get into that bullpen and muck it up a little bit. You cannot allow those guys to just go through you like a knife through butter. I don't think that they will, though. I think they're going to be a little grindy and a little scrappy, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for both sides. I just do think Snell is at the absolute peak of his powers right now, so I still give the edge to Snell and Yamamoto. But yeah, batted ball luck could go a long way, and if they don't strike out, that's a big key. Remember, Snell's a big strikeout guy. If you can get more balls in play, maybe you can make more things happen. That's a little bit of my early thoughts on that. Let's see here. One of the main differences in the series was the bottom of the lineup. So we just talked about how the bottom of the lineup was a huge difference. It was like over 900 OPS for the 5 through 9 hitters on the Jays. That's also a big factor in this series. Now, if you recall by watching the Brewers, as good as they were in the regular season, they only had one guy, in my opinion, maybe 2 if you count Andrew Vaughn. But the one guy, Jackson Chorio, who's actually seeing the ball well and getting good swings off. Yelich was a disaster. Contreras was kind of messed up. And the whole bottom of the order did pretty much nothing. They put a lot of weak balls in play. Frelick, Terang had one nice home run, but for the most part, they didn't really swing it very well, especially at that bottom of the order. They didn't put any pressure on those guys, whereas the Jays did the opposite. And another big question about this series now is Bo Bichette. This is a good comment here. I think Bo could be a huge game changer with elite pitching. He has the capacity to soak up 30-plus pitches over a few plate appearances. How will they use Bo Bichette? What's the path to Bo Bichette starting games? Probably not putting him at shortstop right now, right? So he's going to have to DH, which then that means Springer's got to be in the field. So they could be potentially weakening their defense a little bit to have another good hitter in there. Also, how effective will Bo be at the plate? He hasn't seen pitching in a while. He's got great hand-eye coordination, great bat-to-ball skills. But yeah, I see this as being a little bit of a conundrum. How are they going to play it? Also, how healthy is Bo Bichette really? Of course, he wants to be a part of this. I mentioned in my video last night that I felt deep in my heart and in my soul pain for Bo Bichette at times in this series because I know how bad he probably wanted to be out there playing, especially watching his guy Vlad play, who they came up together. They've been on this journey together for a really long time. This is like the crux of it, and he's not out there. And I felt a lot of sorrow in my heart for Bo, and I know how that feels. And then same with Barrios too. Barrios has been healthy his whole freaking career, and now he's not a part of this. So even though maybe he wouldn't have been anyway, I don't know. But my point is, I feel bad for those guys who grinded and they're not getting to enjoy it. They just have to be supporters and kind of convince themselves that they're allowed to be happy about this. But now Bo is going to play and going to be on the roster. It looks like. So the question is just to what degree. What degree? That's the question. Will he play? Bo said he felt ready 3 to 4 days ago and that the extra 3 days rest now is a bonus. No clue how real that is, but we can hope. Yeah, this is kind of his last chance to get in, right? Like, you have to say you're healthy now. So we're going to see how they use him. Honestly, I don't even mind him off the bench. I don't know what spot he'd be taking, probably Loperfido at this point. We didn't see Loperfido play at all, right? Does that make sense? But I wouldn't mind him off the bench. He's a tough at-bat. He's got a great two-strike approach. I could see him really frustrating a guy, at the end of a game, like a Trinan or a Roki or somebody like that. So I don't mind it. He could come up big in a big spot. And in a way, it keeps him kind of up in the air where you can fire him at the right moment. And I like that dynamic as a manager. Because right now, Jimenez is, to me, you have to play him at shortstop because his defense is that good. It's game-changing. So, and obviously, Clement's not coming out of the lineup. So, yeah, you got to try to figure it out. But I don't know. Bo, I've been thinking about him a lot, for sure. Also, what's the story with this? I read something about this, but I don't really know a whole lot about it. Should we go through a couple of the? We'll go through a couple of the Dodgers Blue Jays notes, just because I have a little more time before I have to head off to my meeting, and I'm kind of out of things to talk about off the top of my dome. You know what's so funny is how much Springer was jumping around after he hit that home run, and the knee did not look like it was hurting in that moment. So like adrenaline and euphoria and all those things are those are incredible drugs, right? Those are amazing. Those are freaking awesome. Oh man. Oh man. So anyway, this is going to be a really good matchup. I'm excited. I've done a lot of videos on Dodger players recently. Obviously, they deserved it. Blue Jays players. Got 2 up on Vlad already. It's going to be awesome. All right, let's switch over to the main screen, and we'll go through what the notes are here in this early packet just to wet our whistle for what's to come. I'm going to try to have a guest on to go over a little bit of World Series preview as well. Probably Wednesday or Thursday. Probably not Wednesday now that today's Tuesday. So probably Thursday would be a good day for that. All right, winner of World Series Game 1 is going on to win 63% of the time. Okay, I don't care. Dodgers are just the 3rd team in the wild card era to clinch a pennant with just 1 postseason defeat. Yeah, so, I mean, it's too early to talk like this, but if they did come out and just, go win, 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 this would cement them as just like one of the most interesting, under-the-radar, greatest teams of all time, because they didn't have a great regular season. It was super uneven. But if they continue to play the way they've played and pitch the way they've pitched, they're an undeniable juggernaut at this moment. So that would be an interesting dynamic. But we're so far ahead of that to even talk about that. Toronto clinched their 3rd pennant in club history with Monday's victory. The team won its 2 previous trips back in 92, 93, right when I was becoming aware of baseball. Friday will be the first World Series game in Toronto since Joe Carter's famous walk-off series clinching home run off of Mitch Williams in Game 6 of the 93 World Series. Can't imagine a bigger moment than that ever. Walk-off home run to win the whole thing. There's the famous picture of him jumping on home plate with the camera from above and Skydome and all the players around him. Baseball, it really does it to you, man. It's so cool. It's the Blue Jays' contact-oriented offense versus the Dodgers' swing-and-miss staff. Toronto led the majors in contact percentage during the regular season, 80.5, and the Dodgers starters have an MLB best 39.4% whiff this postseason, which is elite if one player was doing it. As a staff, that's obscene. Almost 40% whiff. 4 out of 10 times you swing at a pitch, you miss it. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That includes foul balls, so that's pretty damn good. Toronto is batting .296 this postseason, averaging 6.45 runs per game. So this is really going to get put to the test. The contact offense versus the dominant pitching staff with the nastiest shit in the big leagues between Snell, Yamamoto, Ohtani especially, how he looked the last time. Holy cow, he might jump to the top. And then Glasnow, we all know about him as well. Also curious what game times we get in LA. We'll get more shadow situations, so the pitching could be pumped up again as well. The other 11 playoff teams are batting a combined .218. Over 22% of the runs scored this postseason belong to the Blue Jays. So, yeah, they completely broke the Yankees pitching staff, and they completely broke Seattle's pitching staff over time. I mean, Seattle's got a vaunted pitching staff. That's one of the reasons why we like them the whole season. And they got broken by this Blue Jays offense. It's the highest average by a playoff team since the 2007 Red Sox. That's that powerhouse that we recently talked about. Who is pitching for Game 1? I'm pretty sure it's Snell. Who do they have as a possible here? Gausman? Yeah, Gausman pitched 1 inning of a couple of days off. Yeah, I could see it being Gausman. Could also be Scherzer. Would be another weird way they could go here. But it could be Gausman. That would be my guess. All games starting at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. So yes, we will get a little bit of early shadow in the games in LA. So I don't love that for the hitting, but could be a big deal for the pitching. Vlad Jr. has 10 hits in his last 19 at-bats with 3 doubles and 3 homers. He's now batting .442, .510, .930 with 6 home runs and 12 RBIs in the playoffs. This is by far the best hitter that the Dodgers pitchers have seen in this playoffs. They haven't seen another great hitter like this. The Reds, it's like Sal Stewart, Ellie De La Cruz, no. And then on the Brewers, it's like, yeah, okay, Chourio. Choreo probably, but he's not on the same level as Vlad. Let's be honest. So Vlad, this is the best hitter that they've seen, and how are they going to approach him? Will they go right at him with reckless abandon? Probably at the beginning, yeah. But over time, if he burns them, will they let him beat them? Probably not. Probably not. But we'll see. Sometimes teams that are this talented get stubborn sometimes. So we'll see. See, this is kind of my feeling a little bit, is that people are underestimating the Jays. Stylistically, I like the fact that their offense is churning the way it is. I think they have a chance to mess some things up. For sure. But I go Scherzer at home then, or Savage at home in game 2. I do think you want to have Savage at home for whatever reason. Seems comfortable and pretty good at home. Maybe you go, I mean, I don't know. I have to look at this more. We have more time to think about this. I'm not sure yet. And this is the best thing I've ever seen, by the way. This is the greatest thing ever. I wish every team had this luxury. Great comment by Dano. All right. Bo Bichette to John Morosi after Game 7. Quote, I'll be ready. Bichette has not played since suffering a left knee strain back on September 6th. Bichette, who will be a free agent this winter, may be limited to DH duties in the Fall Classic or pinch hitting duties. We talked about that a little bit. And now to the Dodgers rotation. We've gone over this before, but it's worth repeating. 1.40 ERA, 10 runs, and 64 innings from the starters. On pace to be the best in a single postseason all time. That's truly how good they have been. Blake Snell's Dodgers probable Game 1 starter. His last 6 starts, he's 5-0 with a 0.68. He's given up 3 runs his last 40 innings. Opponents are hitting 115 with 56 strikeouts against Snell in that span. Seems like he's got every single pitch at his fingertips right now. And he's got great velocity. And he's funky. And he's just on it right now. He's now thrown 14 scoreless innings over his last 2 starts, allowing 1 hit in each contest in victories over the Phillies and Brewers. He's a little bit on his Cole Hamels, Madison Bumgarner run right now. He is. Snell has won 5 straight playoff starts. Only 4 pitchers in the LCS era have won 6. Cliff Lee, David Wells, Orel Hershiser, and Dave Stewart. So he's in great company there. Those are all huge big game pitchers. So he's getting finally mixed in with some of the people who really are his peers. He defeated the Jays back on August 9th in LA, tossing 5 scoreless innings. Snell enters Friday, having thrown 13 straight scoreless versus the Jays. So we're definitely going to watch that in preparation. That'll be something that's good. That's juicy. We'll watch Snell. We'll get a little bit of an idea of how it goes. The Dodgers took 2 of 3 from the Jays back in August in Chavez Ravine. Gosman could be an option to start Game 1 on 3 days rest. So he'd be on 3 days rest. Maybe. Only Manny Ramirez and Altuve have more career playoff homers than Springer now. He's got 23 of them things. One off me. Following his go-ahead 3-run blast in Game 7, none of his 11 hits this October have gone for extra base hits. 9 of his 11. So doing damage when he's doing it. Really nice. And then, of course, Shohei Ohtani looks to join Hideki Matsui as the only Japanese-born players to homer in the World Series. That seems like a foregone conclusion. I would never bet against him ever hitting a home run in this series. So this is going to be a great series. This has been a great chat. We got 145 people in here right now. I'm very, very grateful for that. Game 7 was elite. We're going to be breaking this down the whole week. I think I'm going to try to power through both days. Probably bring a guest on, like I said, on Thursday. But we have a lot of preview time possibility in this game, leading up to the series. And then there'll be a lot to break down individually. Hopefully there's some other stuff. That we can look at as well, to kind of prepare ourselves. Maybe there's some crossover matchups, some interesting things to check out. But I definitely want to go back and look at that Snell outing when we get a chance. But I'm not going to have enough time today. So let's just take a few things from the chat really quick. I actually really have to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to have to cover it up, lock it up in a minute. All right, here we go. Not sure if you covered this, but the M's seemingly have every pitcher with the same game plan. Yeah, this is what we talked about before. They got overexposed with their game plan, as well as they just have a lot of the same types of guys. Now, I'm a little biased to these types of pitchers as well. Guys who have 4 seams, like bigger mixed pitchers, righties that have good east-west, as well as understand how to have VAA up in the zone with a lower slot in some cases. But they really overdid it with the sinkers in. Sinkers in general, eventually they got beat. They got overexposed, and they ended up going and getting reduced back to that one pitch where it's like if you're not perfect with it, you're risking mistake over the middle when they know it's coming, or way inside, which is a ball, maybe a hit by pitch, non-competitive. So we went over it a few times, but Not a big. This was the question, but I'm not really a big fan of how it progressed. I think they needed to think a little bit ahead of what they did. Throw some more pitches outside. Throw some more breaking pitches for Chase in certain spots. But it's tough. It's hard, really hard. You want to live and die with your strengths as a pitcher. Imagine if you go to your third or fourth pitch like I'm telling you to, and then you give it up. You're going to hurt in that fashion too. So there's a little bit damned if you do, damned if you don't execute. But if you execute and you're a step ahead, it will work. So I don't know. I've seen it too many times. I did, like Leo's mentioning it with the Kerry Carpenter at bat in the previous series versus Kirby. Like these things, like you see them. You watch enough baseball, you see them. So all right, here's Mr. Doctor's Jay's predictions. He's got Game 1, Gosman. Game 2, Savage. Game 3, Bieber. And then Game 4, Old Man Max. It's gonna be interesting to see how they use Max. I mean, he's gonna have to pitch at some point, probably in the series. And he did have the 22 days rest the last time. I love him in a hostile environment. Put him in Dodger Stadium. Yeah, Game 4 makes sense. Game 4 makes sense to me. But yeah, you definitely want to use your other three for the most part. Those are your best guys. Curious to know. Bassitt was saying how close the families are and how much they all spend time together. How much does it actually mean? Means a lot. Means a lot. People want to have a great experience. You know, people have to understand that you spend a month and a half, 2 months in spring training. Like, this is not where most people live. Like, they live, let's say they live in Texas, right? And then they go to Dunedin, Florida, you know, which is like outside Tampa, for basically 2 months in a little troop where the only people that can relate to that experience are the others. So it's really nice if you have other families to hang out with. The kids can hang out, the wives, sisters, parents, whatever. Then you all go to Toronto, another place, not where you're from. You're all together, 6 months. The husbands are leaving, they're coming back. You're going on trips, you're coming back. If you don't like the environment you're in, if it's not provided and done right, all that leaks into your baseball team. You need your baseball team knowing that everything behind the scenes is good and everybody's happy, and that, you know, allows the players to play loose and free and be happy. So all this stuff matters. All this stuff matters a little bit, especially with your organization. It can't be a weak spot. Players talk. Everybody knows what the feel is with every team, and these are things that matter, you know, especially for guys with families that are going to be, you know, moving to a place that they've never been before. They really need to know that that side of things is locked down. So kudos to the Jays for obviously cultivating a pretty good culture up there with the families. Yeah, the question about Bassitt starting, I don't really see it. Also, I thought he looked great out of the pen. Utilize him maybe once or twice, maybe 3 times in the series like they did the last time. They pitched him twice last series in a variety of roles. So I like his versatility and just his overall competitiveness. If you don't have a good family environment, you might produce a Vladdy that grows up to destroy you. It's so funny to me to hear this stuff about people hating the Yankees' old clubhouse environment on the road or the stadium environment, because nowadays I feel like they do a pretty good job on the road. They're very, very accommodating on the road. So it's interesting how it must have been different back in the day. And anecdotally, when I first got to the big leagues, and we were in the NL Central especially, I was with the Cardinals, and we would travel around to those other teams, Cubs, Pirates, Reds. Like, they made it clear they didn't like us. Like, so they were in no hurry to help us out, and maybe that was just a little bit more of the culture back then. Now we're more in the, hey, this is all great competition. You go ahead, bring in your catered food and like whatever you guys need to be comfortable and play a good show, you know, out there. We'll be happy. But I think in the old days, it was like, you guys are the enemy. Like, we're going to give you nothing to eat, and you're going to have, you know, the air conditioning is not going to work and stuff like that. But that part of the game doesn't really exist anymore. All right. I think that's it for me today. Thanks for hanging with me today. It's been a good day after Game 7. That was an awesome game, and I'm really stoked for this World Series. Blue Jays, Dodgers. I am picking the Dodgers, I think, initially as my early thought, but I think the Blue Jays have a good shot. And I'm rooting for a long, deep series and for this thing to get sloppy and mucked up and to see what both teams are made of, when they're both on fumes at this point. So I think this is great. I love it for both fan bases. You got all of Canada rocking for the Jays. Obviously, the Dodgers. Their fans are in love with their situation right now. They're a huge club. They're the biggest club in the world probably now in a lot of ways, especially in Japan. They got a whole army they bought the whole country's fandom. So this is going to be great. Everybody's going to be locked in on this. Baseball's hot. That was an unbelievable ALCS. These streams have been fun. This one's great. I love the turnout. You guys are really, been so supportive. I really appreciate it. So I'm just going to keep rolling them out. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep learning and watching as much baseball as possible. So thanks so much, guys, and I'll check in with you guys tomorrow. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.